So after WrestleMania 41 and the subsequent episodes of Raw and SmackDown, we have a whole new slew of WWE champions, which begs the question, who is going to dethrone each of them? Let's speculate. I'm Brandon and this is Wrestling Talk. Okay, let's get right into it. I'm just going to go through each of the 11 main roster championships and pick who I think is going to be the one to take the title off of the current champion at the time of recording. First up, the WWE Tag Team Championships currently held by the Street Profits. I don't think it's going to be the Motor City Machine Guns or DIY. I think both of them have kind of had their time with those titles, and there's not really any momentum behind Los Garza or Pretty Deadly, or even The Miz and Carmelo Hayes. So when it comes to who's going to dethrone the Street Profits, I think I have to go with the newest addition to SmackDown, and that is Fraxium. This tag team was awesome in NXT, and I think WWE is going to want to give them a big push now that they're on the main roster. So while I don't think it's going to be any time in the immediate future, when the time comes to take the titles off of Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, I think Fraxium would benefit the most from it and also do the most with it. I think they would have a great title reign. Moving on, the World Tag Team Championships currently held by the New Day. I don't think they're losing these anytime soon. I think they are going to run through the entire Raw tag division. The War Raiders, Alpha Academy, LWO, American Made, Theory and Waller. I think New Day is going to beat all of them. After that though, who's going to finally beat the New Day? Braun Breaker and whoever the next member of Seth and Heyman's new faction is. Think about it. In the modern era, all of the truly great factions at one point or another have to hold all of the gold, meaning the group leader holds the world title and the other members hold either a mid-card title or the tag titles. When you look at groups like the Bloodline or the Judgment Day, they were at their most interesting and most popular when most members of the team were holding gold. But then you look at a group like Damage Control, who never got to that point where everyone was holding gold, and the group never fully clicked. So if WWE wants this new faction to work, everyone needs to be holding gold. That means Seth Rollins with a world title and Braun Breaker and whoever their new member is holding the tag titles. Whether it's Austin Theory, Ilya Dragunov, Carmelo Hayes, Obafemi, whoever. This new Dangerous Alliance or Evolution 2.0 is going to be the next Bloodline. And to do that, they need the tag titles. Next up, the women's tag team titles currently held by Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Honestly, I only see two options. One is the Kabuki Warriors whenever they both return. That is a big marquee match, and if the Kabuki Warriors win, that'll get a big pop. But then I also think about who's going to benefit the most from the victory, and to me, that is Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. At some point, they're going to be officially called up to the main roster, and when that happens, they are the perfect candidates to dethrone Liv and Raquel. They would benefit the most from it, and I think they would do the most with the titles. But I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, because I think Liv and Raquel are going to have a pretty long reign. But once these four superstars get in the ring together, I think Liv and Raquel's days are numbered. Moving on to the mid-card. The men's US title currently held by Jacob Fatu. Make no mistake about it, Jacob is not losing this anytime soon. LA Knight doesn't need the title again. Drew definitely doesn't need the US title. He's just waiting for the world title to be free. And while I definitely think the match is going to happen, I don't think Solo Sikoa is beating Jacob Fatu. WWE sees Jacob Fatu as the next Roman Reigns, maybe even the next Brock Lesnar, which means he should not be losing to anyone unless it is a really big deal. And him losing to Solo is not that big of a deal, which is why I think there are two contenders to take the title off of Jacob. One is Aleister Black. He just returned, he's white hot, but I honestly see WWE treating him the same way they treated Andrade, which is just having him as a regular on TV, putting on good matches, but not really getting involved in the title scene. The person who I think is going to be Jacob Fatu, Damian Priest. Think about it. There's a reason why Damian Priest was moved to SmackDown. It wasn't just to get away from the Judgment Day. It was to help re-establish him as a main event player. To do that, you gotta put a title on him. And with the world title scene being very busy with Cena and Cody and Randy, Damian's gonna need something to do at some point to keep him interesting. So whenever WWE wants to elevate Jacob Fatu from the mid-card to the world title scene, Damian Priest being the one to take the title off of Jacob Fatu to makes perfect sense. Moving on. The women's US title currently held by Zelina Vega. At the time of recording, she just beat Chelsea Green, which was a huge moment. And I think there are a lot of matches for Zelina Vega on SmackDown. Piper Niven, Alba Fire, Michin, B-Fab. But at the end of the day, I think it's all gonna come back around to Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green was so good as the US champion. She had one of the most entertaining title reigns of the past few months. So just like she touted herself as the first ever women's US champion, her bragging about being the first ever two-time women's champion just writes itself. It's comedy gold. While I love the fact that Zelina finally got her hands on a title, Chelsea was just too good as champion to not run it back. So while I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, when the time comes to take the title off of Zelina, I think it's going to go right back to Chelsea. Moving over to the Raw midcard, the Men's Intercontinental Championship currently held by Dominic Mysterio. I'm going to get this out of the way. It's not going to be Finn Balor. I know a lot of fans want it to be. It's just not. Finn Balor doesn't have that momentum behind him. He doesn't have the crowd behind him. He's not as over as Dom. So while I definitely think that match is going to happen, I don't think he's winning. Beyond him though, there are a lot of contenders on Raw. El Grande Americano, Penta, Rusev. It could really be anyone, but I'm gonna go left field here. I think it's going to be Ilya Dragunov. My guess is at some point this year, Ilya is gonna return from injury. And once that happens, I think WWE is going to want to make up for lost time and give him that push. I feel like if he hadn't gotten injured in the first place, he would already have held the IC title by now. So when he comes back, I think WWE is really going to hit the ground running and elevate him so we can eventually build to that big match between Ilya and Gunther. I'm not saying that's going to be for the IC title, but I think in order to get Ilya on that same level as Gunther, he needs to win the IC title at some point. Next up, the Women's Intercontinental Championship currently held by Lyra Valkyria. Let's cut to the chase. It's Becky Lynch. It's always been Becky Lynch. I thought it was going to happen at WrestleMania 41. I think now it's going to happen at Backlash. Once that happens, I think Becky is going to do great with the title. She'll probably have matches with the likes of Dakota Kai, Ivy Nile, but then I think it's all going to lead to Becky Lynch versus Bayley. The crowd will be super behind Bayley for her being left off of the Mania card. It just writes itself. All right, moving on to the world titles. Starting off with the Women's World Championship currently held by Io Sky. This is a tough one because the women's main event scene on Raw is literally just Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan is in the tag division. Becky Lynch and Bayley are going to be involved with the IC title. I don't think Rhea's going to be the one to beat Io, and I don't think WWE is going to give the title to Roxanne Perez just yet. So with all that being said, my answer is Asuka. Hear me out. Reports are saying that Asuka and Kairi are rumored to return around May of this year. Once that happens, what if they go John Cena and turn heel on Io Sky? And now you can tell the story of the fall of Damage Control. Io Sky and Dakota Kai, the OG members, teaming up against the Kabuki Warriors, resulting in a big PLE match, Io Sky versus a heel Asuka, and then Asuka dethrones Io. Cinema, ladies and gentlemen, cinema. Moving on. The WWE Women's Championship currently held by Tiffany Stratton. Now, unlike the women's main event scene on Raw, there are so many contenders for Tiffany on SmackDown. Obviously, she's going to have a match against Nia. She can probably have a rematch against Charlotte Flair, and then a proper PLE match against Jade Cargill. You can always do Bianca versus Tiffany at some point too, but the person who should dethrone Tiffany is obviously Naomi. Naomi's heel turn has been amazing. She's funny, she's entertaining, you could tell she's having a ball with this new coat of paint, and she deserves a world title, not a mid-card title, a world title. So whether it be her cashing in a Money in the Bank contract or just winning straight up, Naomi has to be the one to dethrone Tiffany. Moving on to the men's titles. The World Heavyweight Championship currently held by Jey Uso. After WrestleMania 41, the answer is so clear, it is so obvious, it's Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is going to be the new Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. This new faction that he's forming with Paul Heyman is going to be the next bloodline. It is going to define the next few years of WrestleMania main events. In order to do that though, you need to put a world title on him, which is why Seth beating Jey has to happen at some point this year. And then once that happens, Seth is going to hold that title for a while. And lastly, the WWE Undisputed title currently held by John Cena. This one is very obvious. It's Cody Rhodes. He needs to get his win back. Simple as that. You don't have your top guy lose to a heel that's going to be gone by the end of the year and not have him get his lick back. From a booking standpoint, that is a very rookie mistake, because if Cody never beats Cena before he retires, his record against him will be 0-4. So how could you ever say again that Cody Rhodes is on the level of John Cena if he's never even beaten him? I think Cena is going to have a bunch of big title matches against Randy Orton and LA Knight and CM Punk, AJ Styles, but at the end of the day, it's Cody. It's always been Cody. That's the game plan. However, mark my words, whenever Cody beats Cena at, let's say, SummerSlam or Survivor Series, whoever won this year's Money in the Bank will cash in on him immediately, because I do not see Cody walking into WrestleMania 42 as champion. Just calling it now. But that's it. That's who I think is going to dethrone each of the 11 champions. Who do you think are going to dethrone each of the 11 main roster champions? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.